Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
I'm standing here at HempFest in Seattle with Keith Stroup, the founder of NORML. And thank you for that. And what do you think of this event?
It's my favorite event of the year. I travel around and do a number of these kinds of things, but there's nothing on the scale of the Seattle HempFest other than the Seattle HempFest. So for those who haven't seen it, it is incredibly empowering. And I think 12, 13 years now I've been coming in. I find it fascinating, and I think people in other parts of the country are beginning to pick up on that same phenomena. And the Boston Freedom Fest is coming up in the month, and that's a wonderful thing on the Boston Common with all the history associated with that. And in the Portland Hemp Sock, and that's about the middle of next month as well. I was there last year.
So 12th and 13th of September.
12th and 13th of September. If you're in the region at all and you identify with marijuana smokers or have marijuana smoking, for Christ's sake, come to this thing. You will find lots of people that are like-minded individuals like you. And as I say, you'll feel empowered by it.
This is peace, love, and understanding that we're doing here. Peace, love, and understanding.
Save your seeds. It doesn't take a miracle to cultivate the weeds.
You can't sell brownies. You can't sell pot. You can't sell Rice Krispies at HempFest. Why? Because we know how to keep this thing going, and that will bring us down. We have an unprecedented amount of freedom here. No other city in the world, no other rally in America especially. I don't think any in the world is doing quite what we're doing. So please understand, we do not want to be the narcs, man.
We arrested our 20 millionth American on marijuana charges. Are you ready for 420? In the midsummer, the state of California determined that it would be missing $1.4 billion in taxes if we didn't legalize it in California. Probably 10 times that many nationally.
We've helped almost 100,000 people in 8 states, get a medical marijuana permit. So that means they can legally possess, use, and grow medical marijuana. Medical marijuana is a great step forward, but it's not the end. What we need to do is end adult marijuana prohibition, restore industrial hemp, and help medical marijuana patients.
The man who started it all, Jack Herer.
Hemp will be the future of all mankind, or there won't be a future.
It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, we're going to legalize marijuana no matter what happens in 10 years, because when 60% of the American public wants something, they're going to get it.
Contact your legislators. Tell them end marijuana prohibition. It's time to tax and regulate it. The more letters they get like that, the sooner the day will arrive.
We're going to legalize marijuana!
Peaceful. Look at this. It doesn't have any. What if this was a drink fest? Alcohol fest, meth fest, heroin fest, cocaine fest. There'd be dead people here. There'd be fights. There'd be stabbings. But it's pot fest. It's hemp fest. We are proud. We are loud. Give me an H.
E-M-P! What do we want?
I freaking love Hempfest. Hempfest is the shit. Hempfest is badass. Go Hempfest!
Jack was amazed to discover hemp's deep connection to mankind. For over 10,000 years, hemp was undeniably our most useful plant. Our ancestors depended on hemp's exceptionally strong fiber, cellulose-rich pulp, and highly nutritious seeds. The plant was cultivated and used throughout history for food, clothing, fuel and medicine, as well as for sails, rope, shelter, and paper. In colonial America, hemp was not only legal, but essential to survival.
Washington planted hemp at Mount Vernon in the 1790s while he was president in an attempt to start a home industry so that the United States would not have to depend on Italy and on Russia and on England for their hemp fiber. This was just after the Revolution, and the United States was trying madly not to have to rely on foreign countries for any products.
Armed with this new knowledge, Jack set out to persuade the marijuana reform movement to join him aboard his new hemp bandwagon. But to his surprise, nobody got on, not even the usual suspects.
Many of us thought that Jack was perhaps too focused only on hemp. Most of us were only focused on let's stop arresting smokers, and we sort of thought the hemp issue was a secondary issue and maybe not as important, and we weren't even sure there was a constituency out there that cared about it.
The message, as well as the messenger, turned people off.
When he first talked about hemp, to me in particular, I was very resistant because I thought of it as being just an excuse to legalize marijuana.
He tended, in his enthusiasm, to overstate the case a bit. And in so doing, sometimes the rest of us were embarrassed by that. We felt like it might undermine all of our credibility.
He would go on and rant about, hemp and how it was important and how he found this and found that, and I paid little or no attention to him because he has a tendency to rant and rave about a lot of things if you know him.
I suspect I'm probably one of those people that refused to return Jack's phone calls.
Going to a party, meet me on after school. Well, going to a place where the jive is really cool.
There was one person who did accept Jack's ideas back then. An easygoing marijuana activist named Ed Adair could see the sense to what Jack was saying. Adair, known to everyone as Captain Ed, owned two popular Los Angeles head shops.
I'd heard he sold 12 of the grass books. So I went over there and introduced myself, and he looked at me and he says, I've been selling the hell out of these books. But he says, are you sure you're okay you smoke pot? Because what I walked in with was a white plastic jacket with my polyester pants.
Jack followed Captain Ed's example and traded his polyester suits for jeans and t-shirts. The two became inseparable friends, and over the years, they collected hundreds of thousands of signatures for various legalization initiatives in California.
When Captain Ed and I made a pledge, it was to work every day to legalize cannabis until we were dead. It was legal or we turned 84. And we always felt the great injustice is that if anybody was in jail for cannabis for any reasons, it would always be too big of an injustice to walk away from and not spend almost all our time trying to change.
We are born of nature, and in nature we will die. Oh, and if we don't make it, it's not because we didn't try. No, it's not because we didn't try. They say they will incorporate the world over my dead body, over my dead body, over my dead body, over mine. They have all the money, we have the will, and I would rather be a match than a paper dollar bill. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. They have the guns, all we are is flesh and blood, but we will multiply our numbers and drown them in our flood. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. They say they will incorporate the world over my dead body, over my dead body, over my dead body, over mine. They have all the power, that's what they say, but we will turn those tables, take their power away. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We will not be dissuaded, and we will not turn around. We will face the barricades, and we will tear them down. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. They say they will incorporate the world over my dead body, over my dead body, over my dead body, over mine. You can call me a fool, that's all right with me. I will live to see this good round world breaking free. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. They say they will incorporate the world over my dead body, over my dead body, over my dead body, over mine. They say they will incorporate the world over my dead body, over my dead body, over my dead body, over mine. Thank you.
This morning on Today's Woman, so-called stiletto stoners, educated, career-minded women who regularly smoke marijuana. The topic is highlighted in a recent article in Marie Claire, and here is one woman's story we should point out that she asked us to disguise her identity.
I am a book editor. I've worked in publishing for several years now. I often smoke pot when I get home from work.
The stereotypical pothead depicted by Hollywood.
This is it, man. This is what your grandchildren are going to be smoking.
The jobless, loveless slacker.
This weed is fantastic.
is not the only type of person getting stoned. Educated, career-minded, successful women like this 30-something admitted pot smoker are also lighting up.
I look at it as just sort of a way to unwind and just relax and sort of decompress.
According to a recent study, 8 million women in America smoke marijuana in the past year.
For me, it's the equivalent of having a glass of wine at the end of a long day.
An illegal habit she's keeping private.
At my current job, no one knows that I smoke. My family does know. It's obviously not something that they're super happy about, but on the other hand, I have a career.
In 1 month, she'll spend roughly $200 or $300 for approximately half an ounce. And even though it's against the law, she's neither worried about getting caught nor becoming addicted.
I don't walk down the sidewalk blazing joints. I don't sit in the park next to moms with kids and smoke. I'm not worried about addiction. I feel like I'm more addicted to coffee than anything else. And I'm sure millions of people can say the same.
The changing face of pot smokers.
But you're so smart and so together and so organized and you're always on time. And I'm like, yes, I am all of those things and I do smoke pot. It's not impossible.
Joanna Coles is the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire. Dr. Julie Holland is a psychiatrist at the New York University School of Medicine and the author of Weekends at Bellevue, 9 years on the night shift at the Psych ER. Good morning to both of you. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
How did this hit your radar?
Well, really, we were hearing from a lot of readers that they were feeling very stressed. I mean, clearly the economy is a great source of stress for people, and they wanted a way to unwind. And they found more and more of them were doing this, and they found it had less impact on them when they were going to work the next morning. So they didn't want to drink. It's cheap. And they felt they could do it in the privacy of their own home, and it was a very effective way to come down.
That 8 million number we quoted in the piece, that does not include teenagers who are experimenting with marijuana. You're talking about the 18 to 49-year-olds.
We're talking about highly functioning women who, you know, these are not people who are lying on park benches, the typical picture of someone who's addicted to drugs. They're casual, recreational users who find it very effective.
This comment that we just heard in the piece where it's just, I use it instead of having a glass of wine after work. How do you feel about that? Is it the same thing, other than the fact that it's illegal?
Well, the fact that it's illegal is a very big deal. You know, people have to hide and they feel like criminals, and there's a lot of shame and guilt. It ends up making, it decreases self-esteem a little bit, and it makes it more adrenalized. You know, the fact that you add adrenaline into it, that you have to hide and there's shame, actually can make it feel more addictive. It can make it more dangerous.
I have to say that's not what we're hearing from readers. I mean, first of all, it's decriminalized in 13 states, and I don't think this is a generation of people who get excited about the fact it's illegal. I think they tried it in college, and they're going back to something because these are times of real stress, and I don't think they're excited by the fact it's illegal, and honestly it's not very difficult to get. That's the other thing.
Right, well,
we would talk to people who had dealers in their offices.
One woman in your piece said that it's like her bubble bath.
Right.
When you make comments like that, and I think what I was getting at with you, Doctor, when you say equate it to a glass of wine, are you ignoring a darker side of this issue?
Well, it is a drug, like alcohol is a drug, or like coffee, caffeine, cigarettes. So it's very different than alcohol. It's more of a mind drug. I feel alcohol is sort of a deadening, numbing, maybe more like a body drug. So people are unwinding and they're relaxing, but they're also able to think and maybe analyze or think clearly, pull back and see the macro, maybe make some changes in their lives. I think that cannabis really is more of a psychotherapeutic drug. It could actually be more helpful than alcohol, certainly in terms of insomnia or depression, anxiety. It can potentially be a treatment or a medicine.
And Joanna, post-publication of this article, is the feedback from the viewers changing at all?
Well, the feedback from our readers is really that they're very pleased, that they recognize themselves. I mean, it's not a piece condoning it. It's a piece saying, look, this is going on. How do we feel about it? And a lot of people have written in saying, you know what, I do this too, and I'm really glad you've shone a light on it, because
the behavior probably needs to be normalized. I think, you know, the countries that are regulated, they've got less use, not more.
All right, Doctor, Joanna?
Historical evidence shows that the holy anointing oil used by Old Testament Hebrews contained cannabis extract. The early Christians used cannabis as part of their baptismal process. In the 1800s, medical journals published more than 100 articles on the therapeutic use of the drug, then known as cannabis indica or Indian hemp. Cannabis was often prescribed by doctors and was part of every medical bag right through the early part of the century. It was a popular treatment for labor pains, asthma, rheumatism, and nervous disorders. It was even given to cranky babies to get them to stop crying. Queen Victoria, who lent her name to the repressive Victorian era, was also a bit of a pothead. The Queen found that cannabis was the only remedy that helped her painful menstrual cramps. Britannia could rule the waves a lot easier when she was high. But then the dark days for pot began in the early part of the 20th century, with the advent of chemically created drugs and an emerging profit-driven assembly line medical system. The new order didn't want competition, and cannabis was still preferred by many patients and doctors to the new miracle drugs, which were composed mainly of unnatural toxic substances. After lobbying by the pharmaceutical industry and fear-mongering misinformation by their donation-dependent allies in Congress, a federal law was passed in 1937 that prohibited doctors from prescribing pot in any circumstances under threat of prosecution, even though it was strongly opposed by the American Medical Association of its day. All cannabis products were removed from the U.S. Pharmacopoeia and the National Formulary by 1942. After alcohol was re-legalized, rather than go out of business, the massive bureaucracy of prohibition turned its operation to marijuana eradication.
It was Harry Anslinger, who was a racist, who was the head of the Federal Narcotics Bureau. He had been a prohibitionist, and then when prohibition ended, they gave him a new job, and he was in every president's government from Roosevelt to Kennedy. Harry Anslinger was concerned that the use of marijuana by black and Latino jazz musicians was going to lead to increased crime and increased mental illness in the United States.
The Treasury Department intends to pursue a relentless warfare against the despicable, dope-peddling vulture who preys on the weakness of his fellow.
On cannabis last 2 years ago, when states started passing their own medical marijuana initiatives in order to once again provide pot safely to patients. California was the first U.S. state to pass a medical marijuana law in 1996. The intent was to give relief to patients suffering from chronic pain, AIDS, cancer, and other illnesses. Since 1996, 13 other American states have passed similar compassionate use laws. 12 more have ballot measures or legislation pending. Although cannabis smoke has been shown to have precancerous effects in animal tissue, countless studies have failed to find a link between cannabis smoking and cancer, and in fact have shown that heavy marijuana users have considerably fewer cancers than the general population.
Dr. Donald Tashkin is a very good researcher at UCLA. He is a pulmonologist. His research demonstrated that the incidence of lung cancer in people who smoked cannabis was less than the incidence of lung cancer in people who smoked nothing at all.
We actually succeeded in studying about 600 lung cancer cases, about 600 head and neck cancer cases, and the bottom line is we failed to find any positive association between marijuana, even heavy marijuana use, which we define as more than 10 joint years. Even if you look at more than 60 joint years, a joint a day, times the number of joints smoked, we could not see an association. So I think it's really essentially a negative study. We failed to find any positive association with cancer.
Is it possible that the tar in smoked pot could be causing malignancies while the chemical constituents in pot are curing them at the same time? Although there's some concern that marijuana can exacerbate schizophrenia and psychosis in a few patients already suffering from these diseases, recent extensive studies in the UK have failed to support a causal relationship between marijuana and mental disorders.
Many of the people who are sort of phobic about marijuana say that it leads to schizophrenia. And I think what we really know is that's not the case, that adolescents who seem to have a bit of a thought disorder perhaps pre-schizophrenia find that smoking marijuana helps their thought disorder, and therefore you have more people who are schizophrenic who found that they can self-medicate with marijuana, and they smoke marijuana. It's not that marijuana is causing the schizophrenia, it's that these people have discovered this as a potential therapy for their disorder.
It was only in the 1960s that fat-soluble THC was isolated from pot plants and declared the substance that got us high.
The substances in the cannabis plant which are active are kind of fatty-like, lipid-like, and they're hard to work with. So it has been very hard for chemists to get a handle on these kind of substances. Therefore, it took until 1964 for Raphael Mechoulam and his colleague Edry to discover the active compound in the cannabis plant, which they called then delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or as we know it, THC.
The compound that we isolated, 1964, tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, has been looked into in great depth. And indeed, for the next 20 years, people got to know a lot about the chemistry, a lot about the clinical effects, a lot about the biochemistry of THC. One thing was still unknown 20 years later. I mean, I'm speaking now of 1964 till the mid-80s. Nothing was known about the mechanism. How does THC act in the body?
Cannabis can affect memory and movement, but only temporarily. Though there have been reports of pot's negative effects on the heart and cardiovascular system, they are rare and not scientifically substantiated. Research has also shown that past claims of brain damage from cannabis fail to hold up under scientific scrutiny. All in all, cannabis is very low risk. The long history of the human use of cannabis also attests to its safety. Nearly 5,000 years without a single documented death.
A few different types of edibles right now.
You got the ice cream?
The ice creams and gelatos.
Actually, I have the ice cream.
Medical marijuana dispensaries across America are now offering an impressive array of cannabis-enhanced foods, which makes it easier to over-medicate with marijuana edibles. But even so, they are never toxic or lethal, and the symptoms will disappear within a few hours.
Are made with more of an indica hybrid, and those go by dosage. The green label or single strength, the red or triple.
See, when I've eaten stuff before, it just kind of has made me tired. I wonder if it's
These you wouldn't need that much of.
You wouldn't need a whole one?
No way.
Have you tried those?
I have. I had one little nibble, and that was plenty.
Well, you can eat 4 cookies. You can eat 6 cookies. I mean, you're going to end up falling asleep. You can't OD from it. It's impossible. You're not going to die from it. That's not going to happen. I've tried.
For marijuana to prove fatal, you'd have to smoke 1,500 pounds within 15 minutes, and any resulting death would likely be from asphyxiation. Dozens of major studies have been published in the last few years that indicate that the cannabis and in animals have a significant effect on fighting almost all major cancers, including brain, breast, prostate, lung, thyroid, colon, skin, pituitary, melanoma, and leukemia cancers. They do this by promoting the death of cancer cells that have forgotten how to die, as well as a reduction in their crucial blood supply, while leaving healthy cells untouched. But why, you may wonder, would cannabis have any effect on cancer? The answer can be explained in one word: endocannabinoids. Amazing as it sounds, we're all born with a form of cannabis already in our bodies. It's called the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system, or ECS, influences multiple physiological processes. This intricate system modulates energy intake as well as nutrient transport, metabolism, and storage. A completely natural collection of compounds, endocannabinoids are our body's own form of marijuana and are involved in most of our cells and structures. They control a variety of functions in the nervous system, heart, reproductive, and immune systems. Endocannabinoid messengers help the cells communicate. Typically, they protect our good cells while killing the bad ones, like cancer cells. In all animals, The nervous system is made of the same components, large numbers of nerve cells carrying electrical signals. And wherever the cells meet, these signals are passed to a receptor in the next cell by a chemical messenger called a neurotransmitter. Inside the brain, there are different types of neurotransmitters, including dopamine and serotonin. All animals, from rodents to fish to elephants to humans, have inherited this basic structure. But hundreds of millions of years ago, the sea squirt and other primitive invertebrates evolved an innovation to this system.
What happened was the nervous system acquired a new chemical, if you like, that had a new flavor, a new type of chemical. And it's this chemical that is related in structure, has a similar shape to the chemical that's found in cannabis.
Because of this similarity, these new signals came to be known as cannabinoids. It was inevitable that eventually cannabis would meet its perfect partner, us. Whether you like it or not, each and every one of us is fundamentally wired to respond to cannabis.
Now, receptors are not built in our brain or anywhere in our body, of course, or animal bodies, because there is a plant out there that will produce a compound that acts on them. That just doesn't work that way. Receptors are found in our body because we produce compound that will activate those receptors. So obviously we thought that there should be endogenous compounds which act on those receptors. The fact that there is a plant compound, the tetrahydrocannabinol, the THC, which acts on those receptors, is just a quirk of nature.
I want to personally thank every one of you for coming out today and yesterday and on Friday, because this taste of freedom, you can't get anywhere else, right? I mean, this is just amazing. So I want y'all to appreciate that, because I'm from Ohio and we don't get this kind of freedom. So this is like going into a time warp, you know? Okay. I want to put my 2 cents in on something. And I'm risking my life here, I'm sure, because it's such a passionate debate. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You guys need to support anything that's going to bring things forward. Now, what I know the patients aren't happy with 502, but y'all can take out the bad stuff. It's just something else to fight about and fight for. But if we can stop the caging up of everyone for making a choice, that's progress. Now, you're going to have the cops that are going to be going out there and are going to be doing their thing and breaking the law themselves by harassing the patients and the sick. That happens everywhere. But what we can do is go after those police officers and try to protect our patients. You know, understanding and compassion is what this movement is about. So I don't say support or don't support. I say vote your conscience. But don't be so hard on the folks that either support it or don't support it, because we all have to be on the same side. Now, Ohio had some very good news. We just had our paraphernalia laws got dropped down to a misdemeanor. See, in Ohio, we probably got one of the best, well, at least one of the top 3 best marijuana laws in the country. We're allowed to have up to 99 grams, and it's a $100 ticket. But now if you have it in a baggie, or you have the papers to roll it, you're going to jail. Don't pass go. Which was kind of backwards. But our legislators stepped up to the plate, and they have lowered the penalties the same as marijuana use or possession. So I think that's amazing. I've been an activist for over 10 years. I stand up for patients and everyone alike. You know, I started out and this was just about Tanya. But now it's been so much, it's about the world now, you know. But you don't know that when you first go into it. Last August, I found out that there's nothing that our doctors can do for me. I found out I've got massive calcium deposits on my brain, all over my brain. These calcium deposits are on the very important parts of your brain. So I get to look forward to a stroke. I get to look forward to heart attacks. I get to look forward to dementia and Alzheimer's. This disease, by my doctors telling me how very sick I was, it's actually pissed me off. You know, my doctor, I don't care what state I'm in, that I'm living in. If that's home, that's home. You're not going to run me out of my home for making a choice to try to fight for my life. If there's nothing that the doctors can do for me, and our government has patents on this, oh my gosh. Our government has patents on cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. So don't you think that puts me in a pretty good position? Because you know what? Nobody's going to take me out like a chump. I'm not a criminal. I don't have a criminal record. I am not suffering from drug addiction, and I am not suffering from mental illness. Give me a fighting chance, and don't make me leave my home. I will not leave my home, but I guarantee you that they couldn't do anything more to me than what's already going on. I'm already in a prison of my own body. You know, my doctors gave me a death sentence. And what I want to do with it is I want to fight as hard as I can until I take my last breath. I deserve that. You know, just because my choice of medicine is cannabis doesn't make me a criminal. It makes me smart. You know, and so I'm not buying into the lies. I really need y'all help. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I'd really like to try to protect what brain I've got left. So I'm reaching out to the big dogs in this movement. I'm reaching out to everyone that is participating and taking the time to listen. Think about Tanya Davis. Or think about Cash Hyde. You know, do searches on both of us. I have a Facebook account. You can email me at TanyaDavisis@hotmail.com. I'm going to be around all day. I'm staying at the Edgewater. Come talk to me if you want to talk to me, you know. I'll answer any questions you have while I'm still in town. Thank you for having me in Seattle. Thank you for attending. Remember, be good to each other. We're all in this for the same reason. We're just all trying to get there different ways. Thank you.
Come see what we can see. Come climb the mountain with me, and then we will all be free. For some men are born to lead, some men have destiny. For some men plant the seed, and some men set it free. So come climb the mountain with me, come see what we can see. Come climb the mountain with me, and then we will all be free. One man said we must hear, one man's voice was clear. One man heard the call, his vision speaks for all. So come open your eyes with me and come see what you can see. It's time for the world to know the emperor wears no clothes. Come open your eyes with me. It's time for you to see. It's time for the world to know the emperor wears no clothes. It's time for the world to know the emperor wears no clothes. The emperor wears no clothes. The emperor wears no clothes. The emperor wears no clothes.
Well, what we're going to do here is take a couple of clones off of this plant. But it's a little bit of a problem because it's, as you can see, it's already started to flower, and it's only the 10th of August. But what I've done is I've gone in here and I found a couple of them, like this one here. I can make a clone out of this cutting here. And a couple of more of these small ones right down inside. Here's a couple of them here. And they don't have a lot of little hairs on them. They've just started to hair up. But these really aren't going to amount to much, so I can take those and make cuttings. And in order to do that, I'm going to take this, my Swiss Army knife, and just cut this off. And then I'm going to lightly scrape it like that. And that light scraping will help it initiate roots. Okay? And then the next thing I'm going to do is just trim this off here. Notice I trimmed it nice and tight. I'm going to take this leaf and just cut it in half. A little bit more than half, actually. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this leaf. Now, it's still got the leaves, but it's going to transpire less. And when it transpires less, that'll give it a chance to develop some more roots. So I'm going to take this cutting right here and set it in a glass. Now this is a glass of purified water or distilled water. It's a glass of distilled water here. So let's take another cutting. We'll do this a couple more times, 3 more times actually, and then we'll go to the next step.
Just all so much. Jesse Kinnemer on the guitar.
Millions of farmers all over this country had been losing their farms at the rate of 1 million a year.
What, acreages?
Well,
1 million farms?
Farmers. You know, at one time there was 8 million working farmers in this country, American family farmers. Now we're down to probably less than 2 million. The big corporations, it's the old story of the big ones eating the little ones. And they're running the small farmer off the land. And when that happens, the farm town closes down. The first thing, the hospitals and the schools go. And then what happens is all these people are now unemployed. They move on to the next big city, which causes the same kind of problems in that city. I think that all the homelessness, alcoholism, insanity, all these things that we experience, unemployment in our country, can be traced back to the first time that the first American farmer was forced off his land when he was unable to make a living off of 100 or 200 acres of land. And the reason for it is because they have asked him, demanded or made it necessary that he raise a crop below what it costs him to raise it. Okay. He loses money on, for instance, if he, just example figures, for instance, if he were to, it costs him $2 to, or $3 to plant and raise and harvest a bushel of corn, and if he only gets $2.50 for that at the market, then he's losing. Right. And this is an accepted practice in American agriculture today, for the farmer to get less than what it costs him to grow. And they keep trying to justify it with subsidies and whatever. But the American farmer would rather go out here and work hard and make his money the hard way, the way he knows how to do it. Give him an acre, let him do what that acre can do. Let him do it without all the pesticides, without all the chemicals. Don't put his yield so low, his money so low, that he has to use every piece or every gallon of pesticides that he can find to pour on that acre of land in order to get enough money out to almost break even. Mm-hmm. They have forced him into this position. There are even banks who will not loan you any money at all unless you agree to use X amount of pesticides and chemicals on your land.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Because they know that the only way you can make your payment is if you get so much off of that acre, and the only way you can get that much off of that acre is to keep pouring the chemicals to that 1 acre.
Wow. Now, when did you first become aware of hemp as a cash crop?
A couple of years ago I read a book I think that a lot of us have read by now called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and it was in that book there was a reprint of an article. The one thing in that book that I saw that could not be argued with was an article that came out in 1938 edition of Popular Mechanics magazine, February edition, if anybody wants to go check it out, that said a new $1 billion crop for the farmers.
Do you think that farmers today would be receptive to growing hemp as a cash crop? Because of all the propaganda we've heard over the years, there are so many people now who believe that it's the evil weed. But we kind of figure it, because of all the products that it can create, that it could be a solution.
Well, definitely. I think most people that I talked to had no idea, just like me, that hemp and marijuana was the same thing. We were ignorant of that fact. Also, we were ignorant of the fact that hemp could be used as food. It can be used as clothing. The first Levi's in this country were made from hemp. The first Bibles were printed on hemp paper. The Declaration of Independence, the first 2 copies of this was printed on hemp paper. People don't know that.
Now, when you're out there working with the farmers side by side, do you have an opportunity to witness ways that we, people who are not involved with the farm communities on a daily basis, those of us who are driving to and from work and stuck in our offices, what can we do to help the farmer overcome this misery? They've been together as our backbone forever.
There's a great plan that just I became aware of it here a year or so ago, last year in fact. The farmers have come up with this idea themselves. It's called parity giving. For instance, if you're a rich guy, you got millions of dollars, you want to do something for the poor, the hungry people, you would buy direct from the farmers, pay them a certain price. For instance, for corn, if you buy $1 million worth of corn from the farmers and pay them $3 a bushel, whatever the market price is, then you would be able to write off, you give it to the hungry, you give it to the poor people. Then you would write off what is considered a parity price or a fair market price which would be in the neighborhood of around $7. So you would get to charge, you buy it for $3 and get to write off $7. So this would be a great benefit not only to the guy with money who wants to help, to the farmer who gets his product sold, and also to the people out there who are hungry, who needs the food. It's really ridiculous for people to be starving to death on this planet when there's a lot of food available.
And we'll be back next week to help us restore hemp.
This is a little song for our traveler that we talked to earlier. Only we're going to change it a little bit.
All right.
Oh, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Well, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Back to that brand new place, Sweet Bud, Colorado. Yeah, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Oh, come on, baby, don't you want to go? Oh, back to that brand new place, Sweet Bud, Colorado. 1 and 1